actually look like, right? Starting with the end in mind so that we can reconstruct it. Remember, we talked about this is time management on steroids. I'm just not going to teach you how to do it, although we are going to do a lot of how to tonight and even more tomorrow night. Okay, but I'm going to teach you how to think about it. I'm going to teach you why you're going to do some things so that you don't just learn some great tools and never use them, but you assimilate them. They become part of who you are, and you become a dadgum time management beast, a time management beast. So I hope you did your homework. If you didn't do your homework, do it tonight, right? Get crystal clear on what you want your life to look like. Remember a couple of questions that I asked you yesterday. Number one was, what do you want to be doing more of with your time that you can't do right now for whatever reason? And what would you like to be doing less of? I hope you got some answers to that, right? Because again, that shows us where we are, helps us to look at where we want to be. And then all we need to do is be able to execute on getting from where we are to getting to where we want to be. And this is not about you making a little bit of extra time. It's not about you being slightly more efficient. This is about you radically and being a revolutionizing the quality of your life when it comes to your time, right? Because guys, listen, people who are poor managers of time end up having a lot of poor other outcomes in their life. And so we talked a lot about time thinking. We talked a lot about the prerequisites, and we're just going to shore up here tonight just one more idea that I want to share with you on 30,000 foot view. And then we're going to move into the identify section. How do we identify and account for our current use of time? Because guys, how we're currently using our time has gotten us what we currently have in life, right? Okay, and so we've got to figure out where we are accurately if we want to be able to get to where we're going. So man, listen, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know your time is valuable. And just a reminder, I know so many of you were tagging me on Instagram, on Facebook. Man, if you get some great nuggets tonight, I want to encourage you, share those out there. Unless my picture's like, right, okay. If you share a picture of me that looks like that, I probably won't send that back out again. Okay, but if you get a good picture, you got a great nugget there, tag me in and I'll send it out for you. And again, hey, our VIP guys tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern, right after this, jump onto the VIP, have your questions ready. It's going to be awesome. I know that there were so many that didn't get answered yesterday. We're going to get to tonight. But I want to talk to you again about the idea of completely restructuring. Okay, and here's the deal. The world has programmed us to be non-optimal when it comes to our time. Think about like from the moment you're a little kid and you start going to school, they teach you that you need to spend most of your time, most of the best hours of your day away from your family, right? Away from the things that excite you and motivate you, and really in like this assembly line machine to produce workers, right, for the world with little regard to what your life's actually going to look like at the end of that, right? Okay, stop and think about in that school, right? We start at 5 years old, okay, and if you go to college at 22 or 23, you come out here. So you've been doing this now for 17 years, being programmed that you spend the best hours of your day with other people doing things you don't really love and care about for no apparent reason, okay? For no apparent reason. And then we grow up and we go out into the world, and that's the system that the world expects us to function on as well, right? And I'm gonna account for that. But listen, outside of sleep, the number one place most people's time goes is in the generation of an income, right? Creating an income, laboring, trading time for money. Listen, when you trade time for money, you're always going to be short of one of those two. You cannot win that game, right? And so that's the programming that we've been given. That's just totally normal. That's what we expect to do. That's what we're taught to do. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Okay, you can delineate your time from your money, and you can delineate your time from a lot of other things that I'm going to teach you. And so again, I want you to get the sacred cows out of the room, and let's be willing to go back to the building blocks of creating a schedule of what we want to spend our time doing, how we want to spend our time doing it, and let's put it all on the table, and let's create a life you love. Let's create a life you love. Let's create some happiness, some peace in your life, some results in your life. Let's go back and do that, right? Okay, so the pattern is, spend all your time away from the people you love, doing things you don't care about. Do that for 50, 60, or 70 years total. And then at the end, you can do what you want with your time. They call that retirement. And so we're all living for the weekend. We're all living for the next vacation. We're all living for this magical time when all of a sudden our time will be our own. But folks, let me tell you something. Your time is already your own. The problem is you've given it to somebody else. You've given control of your time to other people, to false expectations, to systems that are built not to help you. Understand this, okay, guys? Listen, if somebody else can control your time, they can control you. When you control somebody's time, you control that person's life, okay? And understand this. And I want to preface this here. I'm going to say something about rich people, poor people. I'm not necessarily talking about money, although in this specific instance, that's the most literal interpretation. But I just mean rich in general, living richly, having rich relationships, having a rich spiritual life, okay? But understand this, rich people buy time and poor people sell it. Let me say that again. Rich people buy time. They understand time is their most valuable asset, and they use their resources to buy time back. Poor people sell their time, right? $10 an hour, $15 an hour, $20, $25, $30 an hour, maybe a salary. They're selling the time. The poor sell their time to the wealthy. The wealthy use their money to buy poor people's time so that they can keep their own time. Does this make sense to you? Okay. And so guys, listen, our lives, generally speaking, are set up for us when it comes to where our time is going to go. And most of us don't think about that. We don't critically evaluate it. We just accept it. We accept it as that's the way it is. Folks, remember what we talked about yesterday. You don't have to do anything when it comes to your time. And I just can't impress that enough upon you. You don't have to do anything. Your life is in your control. We just follow a system that gives everybody else our time except for us, right? Okay. And the key is you got to get out of that game and get into the reverse game where your time is yours, right? And you use it for what you want to use it for. Okay, so we're going to talk about how do you identify. That was our next step, right? Okay, was identifying where the time is going. We've got to create an accounting of our time. And so we're going to get our pens and papers. Remember, we're going to do some exercises tonight. Okay. And here's the key. The key with identifying, okay, is we're going to locate some time that's missing. We're not going to make any changes here. We're just going to account for it. And what you're going to find is this. Most people can build empires. Most people can learn a new hobby, a new language, start a new relationship, rebuild old relationships, just in the time that is not being accounted for. They don't need to change anything. They don't need to get up earlier. They don't need to stay up later. They don't need to make any changes other than to simply account for and direct the time they're already using. So get out your pen and paper. Okay, and here's the deal. There's 168 hours in a week. There's 168 hours in a week. Every week there's 168 hours. That time goes somewhere, right? Yes or yes. It's moving on you whether you're keeping track of it or not. But guys, listen, like a prudent business person, okay, with money, we're going to account for our time. Most of us are losing a fortune in time simply because we don't keep track of where it goes. Let me say that again. Most of us are losing a fortune in time because we simply don't keep track of where it goes. See, we've got to begin to account for the time. So let's do this. We're going to do an exercise together, okay? So the number one place most people's time goes is sleep, okay? So how many hours a day are you sleeping? You might need your phone calculator for this, okay? For those of you who are really bad with math, okay? So here's what we need to do. Let's say you sleep 7 hours a night, hypothetically. So you sleep 7 hours a night. There are 7 days in the week. For those of you who are mathematically challenged, that would be 49 hours. So let's just, we're going to use dummy numbers here. Don't use my numbers, use your numbers, okay? You need to answer the questions that I'm asking you. Get out your calculator and fill in the blanks, okay? So let's just say sleep was 7 hours a day. That's 49 hours in a week. That's 49 hours in a week, okay? Number 2 place most people's time goes, okay, is work. Now, that's not everybody, but that's most people. Again, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom on here, and your time is not spent at work. Maybe it's schooling your kids. Well, how much time goes to schooling your kids on a daily basis? You probably do it 5 days a week, right? So multiply that out. And let's say you worked an average of 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Let's say it was a 40-hour work week. Okay, a 40-hour work week. Now, a lot of you on here, you're entrepreneurs, okay? You're like, well, I'm working all the time. Well, are you really? Are you really? You've got to analyze how much time are you spending on income producing activities. That's what we're going to call working, right? So it's work. Work is generally our next use of time, okay? So we can go through and list everything that you have going on here, right? Let's maybe have family next, right? How much time are you really spending with your family? I'm not talking about sitting in front of the TV staring. I'm talking about spending time with your family, like really there spending time. Let's say you did that for 2 hours a day, right? 2 hours a day, every day of the week, right? That'd be 14 hours there going to family, okay? What about like maybe your spiritual time, right? So let's call that maybe a couple of hours a week at church. Maybe you read your Bible every day. Maybe you spend a little time in prayer. Let's say that was an hour a day over the week on average, right? So let's call that 7 hours, right? So spiritual time there. Let's say maybe you work out, right? Okay. Maybe you're working out, you're running, you're walking. Let's call that maybe an hour a day. Maybe for you, it's an hour and a half. Maybe it's 0, right? Okay. Whatever your number is, let's put it in here. Okay, so let's say that's another 7 hours a week you're working out, right? An hour a day. What about eating, right? Okay, so like eating, you probably eat 3 meals a day, hopefully, right? So you're spending, let's say, half an hour at lunch, a half an hour at breakfast, a half an hour at dinner. That's an hour and a half a day, right? You're doing that 7 days a week, right? So what is that? It's about 10 and a half. Let's round it up and say eating was 11 hours a week. What about, let's call it grooming, right? So showering, brushing your teeth, going to the bathroom. You're probably spending a half an hour to an hour a day on those things. So let's call that 7. Now, maybe some of you take hour-long showers, and that number is more. Again, my numbers are not your numbers. We're just creating some categories here. What about, let's say, entertainment? How many hours a day are you spending on entertainment, right? Maybe let's call it an hour a day. Maybe it's a little more for you. Maybe it's less. Okay, that's 7. Okay, so what are you missing here? Maybe you got like, let's call it kids games and sports, right? Let's call that kids. Let's maybe say that's 8 hours a week, hypothetically. Let's call something like maybe travel time. If you drive to a job or you drive your kids somewhere, okay, we call that travel. Let's say that's an hour a day, 5 days a week, right? So that's 5 hours there, okay? We're gonna make an exhaustive list. Now, this is a pretty exhaustive list. You got family time, you got work, you got sleep, you got eating, you got going to the bathroom, you got getting ready, you've got traveling to and from, you've got family time, your spiritual time, okay? You've got entertainment, you've got kids events, okay? What else do you have in there? Maybe you volunteer a couple of hours a week. Maybe, that's 5 hours a week you're volunteering. Okay, if there's anything else that you do on a regular basis, okay? Let's put it down. Okay? If there's more categories, Spend a few minutes tonight adding those categories that are yours. But let's go here and look at it. Let's just run this basic here. So we got 5 hours on travel, 49 hours on sleep, right? So 5 plus 49. Okay, we got 40 hours of work. We got 14 hours of family time, 7 spiritual time, volunteering 5, 7 working out, 11 hours eating, 7 hours grooming, 7 hours on entertainment, 8 hours on kids. That gives us 160 hours. This person has 8 hours a week completely unaccounted for. And they're doing a lot, right? They're doing a lot. Now, your work might be higher, but maybe you don't work out at all. Maybe you eat at work and you just scarf your food down. This is going to look different for everybody, okay? But here's what I promise you. Even the busiest of people are going to have somewhere between 2 and 20 hours a week unaccounted for, okay? 2 to 20 hours a week completely unaccounted for. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to reabsorb it. We're going to put that time to work, right? Because if we can't figure out where it's going here, are we really telling it where to go? Probably not. It's just slipping away. It's slipping through the cracks. What we're going to do is we're going to get really, really good at accounting for this. And we're going to create a rough schedule on paper, right? Okay. So here's where we're going to start talking some how-tos. And I'm going to draw this out to you. Now listen, you can use a planner if you want, okay? You can use your phone calendar if you want. I would do this on paper first. It's just easier to do on paper, okay? But here's what I would do, okay? So I would start with it, here's your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? Okay? I would start in 30-minute segments, okay? 30-minute segments, okay, for your waking hours, And here's what I would begin to do. Now, again, what are we doing? We're accounting. We're not changing anything here. We're simply accounting right now. If we don't know where we are, how will we change, right? How will we get to where we're going? Remember the GPS, it needs a starting input and an ending point. You can't have a GPS with only one of them, okay? So what time are you normally up? Let's just call it 7 a.m., right? Okay, so here's 7, right? 7:30, 8, so on and so forth, right? You understand this. I'm just drawing this for illustration. It's not going to be exact, okay? But here's the exercise that we need to do. Here's where we need to find where is the missing time. Where's the missing time? So you're already awake. You've already accounted for that. So let's say, you're getting ready 30 minutes in the morning from 7 to 7:30, right? So here's, I'm getting ready, whatever that is, right? However, we're going to do that. Okay. Number 2, right? Okay, is maybe you're exercising, right? So I'm going to exercise here and I'm exercising here and here. So you're putting in your exercise, right? Here's my travel time. I've got 15 minutes of travel time there. So I subdivide that out. There's my travel time. Okay. Now I start work. I don't work on Sunday, but I work, 8:30 to noon. And then I got a half an hour for lunch. So here's my food, right? Every day. Here's my work Monday through Friday. Okay. Then I come back here. I'm off work at this point, right? And so what I'm doing here, is I'm just kind of creating this block, right? Okay. You can color code it if you want. If you're all fancy, that doesn't really matter. Okay. But here's what you're going to find. Okay. Here's your kids stuff, right? Kids stuff on Monday night. Here's church over here. This is church, right? Okay. Here's another kids program. Here's your PTA meeting. Okay. There's the rest of your work. Here's your family time over here. And what you're going to find is you're going to have holes. You're going to have holes that are unaccounted for. They might be 15-minute blocks here and there, right? 30-minute blocks. You've got a couple of hours here that are unaccounted for. This is going to show you where the time is going right now and also where it's slipping right now, okay? It's going to show you where it is. Again, most people, what I found, can build an empire in the time that they're losing right now. Okay, because when you see where that is, now you're aware of it and you can begin to do something about it. You can begin to do something about it. Okay, so here's what we need to do. We're doing 2 exercises. Number 1 is the 168-hour exercise. We're accounting for everything you do daily. Remember, we're not changing anything yet. We're just accounting for where it goes. Then we're going to take those pieces and we're going to put them on paper. We're going to see what the schedule actually looks like and where the holes are. This is important for later, okay, because we're going to use those holes and we're going to fill them with things that are productive and purposeful, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to account for the time, find the missing time, and then we're going to begin to direct it, okay? This is the building block of everything else I'm going to teach you, okay? Because the truth is, you really don't need to change a lot. You need to be aware of what you have going on already, all right? You need to be aware of what you have going on. Oh, my board's running away here. So let me erase this out here really quickly, and then we'll get it back. Okay, we'll get it back going. All right, so everybody understand, this is the building block of what I'm going to teach you. So I'm going to show you some concepts and some structures that are going to help you have more time than what you know what to do with, honestly, okay? And so we've got to account for our time, and then we've got to begin to direct some of that open time. We've got to begin to direct some of that open time, okay? So we've got some open time. So we've got open time up here, whatever you come up with, whatever that number is, let's call it 8 hours, like this example. You've got some open time. This is free and clear. You can put this towards anything you want. And how do you do that, guys? Listen, it goes in the schedule, right? It goes in the schedule. If you don't schedule it in, you're going to continue to lose it, right? Because that's why you're losing it now. It's not scheduled. You're not paying attention to it. You're going to have that open time and you can schedule it for whatever it is that you want to be able to schedule that time for, okay? So let me teach you a couple of other things here. Let me teach you a couple of other things, all right? So this didn't require any change, yes or yes, right? Didn't require any change. All we did was account for it. All we did was account for it. What we want to do now is we want to move into the exchange thinking when it comes to our time. All of time is a trade. All of time is a trade. And I call this the bucket theory, okay? The bucket theory. So imagine your life is a bunch of buckets, right? These buckets represent the things in your life. Maybe family, maybe fitness, here's finance, right? Okay, here's your faith. This is entertainment, okay? Time with kids, games, whatever it is. There's a bunch of buckets, okay? Is everybody understanding that? You've got 168 hours maximum that you can allocate to the buckets, okay? Everybody following that? You've got that's the maximum you can put in there. However you choose to divvy that up is going to give you the results that you have now or you will have in the future, right? If you choose to put less of this time in family and put maybe more of the time in entertainment, the entertainment quality of your life may be strong, but your family may suffer because you're not allocating the resources to it. Is everybody following this? So you've got to understand that you have a series of buckets right now. Maybe this is housework, right? Maybe this is charity, giving time to charity, whatever it is. Okay, you've got only so much that can go in these. And so how you change your life is you change how much you're putting into these buckets. Does that make sense to you? You're exchanging, you're taking time from this bucket and maybe you're putting it in this bucket so that you've got more going here and less going there. Everything's a trade, okay? Everything's a trade. And so what we've got to learn how to do is we've got to learn how to start trading things of lower value for things of higher value when it comes to where we're using our time. Remember, we accounted, we had 168 hours. We showed you where it went. We're going through that exercise. Now what we've got to start doing is we've got to start critically evaluating, all right, I know where it's going, but is that optimal? Is that getting me what I want? Am I accomplishing the things I want? Or do I maybe need to reevaluate the buckets of my life and make sure that I'm filling the most important ones first and then getting to the lesser important ones later or never? And see, most people, they're trying to fill every bucket. They're trying to fill every bucket with their time. And so what happens is the major buckets and the minor buckets kind of get filled the same. The problem is the major buckets need to be full. If you don't fill the major buckets, they will lack. If you don't fill the minor ones, they're going to lack too. So you're going to have, listen, the more buckets you have, this is so good here. The more buckets you have, the less time gets into each bucket. Okay. So sometimes less is more. Some of you, as we go through this, you may just decide, I'm getting rid of some of these buckets altogether. They don't add value to my life. They're not causing me to prosper. They're not making me happy. I'm done with them. And folks, that's your choice. That's your choice, right? We're giving you permission tonight to do that, to get rid of the things that don't matter in your life. Okay. So listen, write this down. We cannot make any more time. We can only upgrade the quality of return from it. Let me say that again. We cannot make any more time. We can only upgrade the quality of the return we're getting from it. We've got 24 hours a day. We've got the same 168 hours in a week. We can begin to choose strategically, okay, proactively, purposefully, where we're going to put the time, where we're going to put the time, where we're going to put less time, where we're going to put more time. What are we doing? We're building the foundation of recreating the schedule around the things that are important to us in life, right? That are important to us in life. So guys, I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'm going to give you some concepts that are going to help you start prioritizing, okay? In life, when it comes to time, there are three things we can do with time. We can waste time, okay? What happens, I'm going to equate this to money so you can see these, so you can see the analogy. What happens when you waste money? If you waste money, you spend money on something and then you don't get the money, you don't get the pop out of the vending machine. You ever had that happen, right? You put the money in, but the pop doesn't come out. You wasted the money, right? Okay. So when you waste money, you put money out, but you get nothing in return for the money, right? That's a waste. Okay. Maybe you got something in return for a little while, but then it disappeared, it broke. Oh, that was a waste of money. Wasting money is spending it on something, okay, but getting nothing in return. We can likewise waste time. We can put time into things that gives us a zero return, So let's think a little bit about some of the things that you can waste time doing. What can you waste time doing? Okay, most entertainment is a waste of time because you put time into being entertained, and while you're there, you're being entertained, you're laughing, but 5 weeks from now, what do you have to show? What could you tangibly produce from that allocation of time? Okay, what can you tangibly produce that is, that is something you can show for it? Okay, so there's a lot of things that could go in here. What are some other things that you can think, this is a waste of time, right? Okay, so this might be dealing with people, okay, dealing with people that are never going to add value to your life. That is a waste of time, right? You put time and effort into people that are the wrong people. They're not going to add value back. And 3 weeks later, a month later, a year later, all this time, folks, this would be like a bad relationship. Okay, this would be a bad relationship. This could be a bad job, right? Where all of a sudden they can you and now you're starting over again at 42 years old, and all you have to show for that, right? You don't have any savings, you got a bunch of debt. All you have to show for that is 10 years older. You don't have anything. That, in hindsight, that was a what? That was a waste of time. putting time into things. Listen, okay, this can sometimes be hobbies. People spend a lot of time on hobbies that aren't going to make them an income. They aren't going to get them closer to their family. God, that's not going to make them healthier. Okay. And so maybe they got a little bit of enjoyment out of it, but 3 years later, they're not still ecstatic from the time they built the model train, right? Does that make sense? So wasting, like wasting money, is when we put time into something, but have nothing to show for that time later. That's a waste of time. Okay. Everybody following that? Okay. So the first thing we can do with time is we can waste it. Wasting it means we're getting a zero return, okay? The second thing we can do is spend time. Now, when you spend money, let's say you go to the grocery store and you spend money on food. The money is gone now, but you have a house full of food. You can look at it. You have something of value. Theoretically, you could take that food and maybe sell it to somebody else, right? That would be like buying clothes. You spent the money, okay? The money's gone, but you have something to show for it. Tomorrow, you see, yep, I still have the shirt. I'm still getting value. Okay, a spend is basically an exchange of value. I'm getting something of value, okay, for the money I'm spending. The money's gone, but I have something of value. So likewise, we can spend time. We can spend time. Spending time would be where we put some time into something. The time is now gone, but we did get something of value to show for it. This easiest one to look at this would be like work at a meaningful career. Okay, so you spent the time this week. The time is gone. Okay, but you got some money to show for. You could show that to somebody, right? You can say, hey, look at what I have, right? Maybe you got some fulfillment out of it, that you feel good about what you're doing, that you're trading time, but you're getting something of value back, right? You're getting something of value. This might be relationships. Okay, this might be relationships with your spouse or your kids. You put time into their ball game. That time is gone, but the memories are there with the people you care most about, right? The investment in the relationship is there, okay? So here's the key. Wasting money is bad. You shouldn't do it, okay? You should always get something of value in return for your money. Wasting time is also bad. You should get something of value in return for your time. Spending money and spending time is not bad. It's not good. It's necessary. We're going to spend money in return for value, and we're also going to spend time in return for value. Everybody following this here, right? Okay. So that might be relationships. Think about it like maybe your spiritual life, right? You investing time in going to church. The time's gone. You don't have anything to the time isn't there anymore, but you have peace in your spirit, right? You're learning, you're growing. Okay, this might be like education. Some of you are in school. Education is a spend of time. I'm spending the time learning. I no longer have that time, but I do have a degree, or I do have a skill that I've learned that's valuable, right? So again, the difference between wasting time and spending time is when you spend time, you have something of value to show for it. When you waste time, you have nothing of value. Everybody following this? Okay. The third thing you can do with time, as with money, okay, is you can invest it. When you invest money, you put money in with the expectation of getting what? More money out than you put in. When we waste money, we have nothing to show for it. When we spend money, we no longer have the money, but we do have something else of value. We made a trade. When we invest money, we'll get that money back and even more money. Does that make sense? Well, we can do the same thing with time. We can do the same thing with time, okay? We can invest time with the expectation of more time, getting more time back. Now, can you make time? No, but watch this. Here's an example of investing time, okay? investing in your health. When you invest it, let's say you invest 30 minutes a day in health, right? And you say, well, I spent that time, Ian, that was a spend. It's gone, I don't have the time, but now I feel better about myself, I look good. That's false, okay? Because if you spend 30 minutes a day working out, but it adds 15 years to your life, you actually did end up with more time. You invested here and got more here. Does that make sense to you? Health is an investment of time, okay? Health is not a spend. You're actually going to get more time back because of your health. Let me give you another one. Developing a residual income is an investment of time. When you invest time into buying maybe rental properties and fixing them up and doing the deals and all that, that time is gone. But actually one day, watch this, one day when your rental income exceeds your expenses, remember the 40 hours a week you had to work? Well, if you don't have to do that anymore because the money's coming in, because you invested time in that, then guess what? The time you actually put in got multiplied, right? Imagine you could get 40 hours a week back from your job because you delineated time from money, right? Now listen, some of you are entrepreneurs on here, some of you are not. Either way, that's fine. I don't really care what you do, but here's what I'm teaching you, right? You don't have to spend 40 hours a week working for money. You can create systems that bring the money to you. You could have rents, you could have royalties, you could have residuals, okay? There's a lot of different ways you can do that. But here's the deal. If you're not investing time in creating a residual income, you're missing the mark because you've got this 40 hours a week here that you could go put back into your schedule for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Imagine you were able to free up 40 hours a week. Okay, let's do the math here. Let's do the math. Okay, 40 hours a week times, let's say 50 weeks a year, you got a couple of vacant, that's 2,000 hours. And let's say you did that for 20 years. That's 40,000 hours of your life you could get back to do other things that you want to do with it. Maybe learn a new skill, maybe spend more time with your family, maybe start a ministry, maybe start another business. Okay, what did you do? The amount of time, let's say you spent an hour a day developing the residual income, and it took you 3 years, hypothetically, to develop that, right? Okay, so you spent 365 hours a year times 3 years. You spent 1,000 hours, so you invested 1,000 hours, and then for that investment, you got back 40,000 hours. What did you do? You put time in with the expectation of getting more time back, okay? So guys, look, we can do 3 things with time, right? We can waste it, we can spend it, and we can invest it. Watch this, okay? Watch this. This is gonna change your life if you let it. We've gotta identify these, and we've gotta stop those, take that time, and put it here. If you do this, you will change your life when it comes to time. Find the time that's being wasted and take that and move it from waste to invest, specifically in these 2 areas. Getting your health under control so you have more time on the planet Earth, okay? And getting your income under control because it's the single greatest place you use your time. It is the biggest return item that you can possibly get back. And it's easy to do if you're willing to look at it, but you got to be aware first, right? Does that make sense? I'm blowing some of your minds right now. Literally, okay, you could take the time you're wasting and you could simply shift it. You could exchange the waste for invest, okay, and you get totally free. You get totally free because guess what? You don't even need to touch the spend. Spend the time with your family, spend the time working your job while you're building a residual income, spend the time doing all the other things that we talked about. Your spiritual life, keep spending it. You got to spend money on stuff. You got to spend time on stuff. We don't need to touch the spend at all. We can go in from waste, transfer waste to invest, and you'll change your life. And that's not even talking about the 8 hours we found that was unaccounted for. This is already just the crap that we're going to account for. Does everybody understand this? Okay, so here's a little bit of homework tonight. Here's a little bit of homework. So remember the 168-hour exercise you did, right? You had, sleep, you had work, you had this, that, and the other thing, right? You had all those things, okay? Next to those times, you need to write down what they are. Well, this is sleep. Sleep is a spend. If you don't spend time sleeping, you'll die much earlier, okay? So it's almost an investment in some ways, right? If you don't sleep, you ain't gonna live very long. Okay, so sleep, maybe that's a spend, maybe that's an investment. We'll call it SI. Anyways, pretty important, right? Okay, going to work, that would be a spend, okay? We're not gonna really change anything with the spend right now, okay? But maybe your entertainment, that's got a W by it. That's a waste, right? Maybe, I spend an hour a day watching my fantasy football. It's called, well, I don't get anything for that. Some of you are like, well, I might win $1,000. Great. Okay. How much time did you spend doing that? Okay. For your $1,000, you're like a Sri Lankan laborer here. Okay. By the time you look at what you win, if you do win. So you need to understand and go through, and let's go through that list. So you got the amount of time there, and then let's itemize it. What's a waste? What's a spend? What's an investment, right? Okay. And here's what we're going to start doing. We're going to make some exchanges. Maybe we get rid of the waste completely. Maybe we cut it down by half. We say, oh, I still want to watch TV, but instead of an hour a day, I'm going to go to 30 minutes a day. I get 3.5 hours back right here. I'm making that choice. Now we take that 3.5, we throw it down to the investment. It was 7, now it's 10. Everybody understanding? All we're doing is we've looked at the itemization of what we're spending our time on. We found some time that's unaccounted for. We're going to deploy that, okay? By the way, what would I do with that time if I were you? I would look for the I categories, the investment categories, right? Okay? And I look for those I categories and I would put it there. Okay, everybody understand this? And what you're going to do when you get done with this homework, okay, is now here's your buckets again. You've got your buckets. Some of them, maybe you eliminated completely. You say, this bucket is not a priority right now. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to take those 4 hours. I'm putting it here. Okay, so what we've done is we've identified where the time is. We found some extra time. And now what we're doing is we're going through with our waste, spend, invest mentality, and we're going to itemize what is what. And then we're going to start making some trades. When we start making those trades, then we can go back to the calendar that we built, right? We can go back to the calendar that we built, and we can begin to account for and allocate our new bucket structure, right? Your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We saw what it was. We're making some choices to exchange some stuff. Okay, and now we're going to go build that back out again. You follow that? Okay, we're going to see it on paper. We're going to account for all the time and watch how your schedule is going to start moving and morphing from a lot of wasted time, a lot of unaccounted for time, and you're taking the lowest value things and you're trading them for the highest value things. That is the great exchange. That's what I call it. It's the great exchange. How do I learn how to take the lowest value time that I'm using, and how do I turn that into the highest value time? I'm not trading around things in the middle. I'm taking the bad and I'm making them the best. Everybody follow that, right? Okay. So watch this. This is part 1 of this exercise. Okay. This is called the Eisenhower matrix. And this is what I call, guys, listen, power prioritizing. Most people major in the minors. They're spending all sorts of time on crap that ain't moving the needle, and then they don't have any time for the things that are important. They're not going to the gym. They're not building residual income. They're not building their family relationships. They're not accounting and growing their spiritual life, but they're busy doing all sorts of crap, okay? The Eisenhower matrix, guys, is another way. It's just a different visual to recreate what we just talked about there, okay? So in the Eisenhower matrix, it says things in your life that consume your time are going to be in one of four categories, okay? Urgent and important. That's category one, urgent and important, okay? Category two, not urgent, but important, okay? So it's not urgent, but it is important, okay? So here's our next category, okay? Is urgent, not important. And our final category here is not urgent, not important. Okay? By important, let's define this. Let's call that material to the outcome of your life. Remember the exercise we did? Here's what I want my life to look like. Here's how I want it to be. Okay? If it's important, that means that it will directly affect your ability to live that dream, to live the life that you want. That's important, okay? So let's talk about some examples here. This is really going to give you some great perspective, okay? So what is urgent and important? It's material to the outcome of my life, and it has a deadline. There's a time that has to be done. This would be like your kid's birthday party, right? If you don't want little Timmy to grow up hating you, you should go to Timmy's birthday party, right? Okay. And Timmy's birthday party is probably at a certain day and a certain time, right? And so that would be urgent. It's got a time frame attached to it and important. Maybe it's a goal you have with your business, right? Okay. That's important to help you get to where you're going. It's important. It's got a deadline. Okay. These are things, think about it like this. Urgent and important are things that are material to the outcome of your life, okay? They have a deadline and they are required to be done by you. You can't send the Uber driver to Timmy's birthday party in your place, right? Like, where's my dad? I don't know. He sent Steve from Uber though. He's like, what's up, kid? Right? Okay, so this is the criteria. It's material to the outcome of your life. It's important to that outcome. There's a deadline on it, a time frame that's got to be accomplished by a certain time, and it is required to be done by you. Okay, everybody following that, right? Let's talk about not urgent, but it is important. It is important to the outcome of your life. This would be like, dating your spouse, right? This would be self-improvement, okay? Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying, you better read that book tonight or it's over, okay? But if you don't read that book, you won't get any better and you won't have your dream. So it is important that you read the book, but there's no urgency to it, okay? Again, this is spending time with your kids. This is your spiritual life, right? This would be working out and exercising, right? It's important, but nobody's holding a gun to your head saying, dude, if you don't go work out today, you're going to have a heart attack tomorrow. That's not happening for anybody, right? Okay. But if you don't take care of yourself, eventually that's coming. Do you understand? So it's important. It's important to the outcome of our life, but it does not have a time frame beating down on us. Like this, it also must be done by who? You can't, it's like that old Blues Traveler song. I'm going to hire a prayer to pray. But you can't hire somebody to pray for you. That's not going to help, okay? You need to be praying, right? Okay, you can't put a surrogate in there for you and God, right? Nobody's going to lift the weights for you. Nobody's going to run the mile for you, okay? It has to be done by you. It does make a difference, but there's no time frame on it. Nothing's attacking you for this. Everybody following? Okay. Let's talk about urgent but not important, okay? These are things that vie for your attention but don't move the needle when it comes to your life. Now, this is stuff like housework, mowing the lawn, right? Mowing the lawn. This might be, volunteering somewhere. Okay. It could be a number of things. Okay. Here's the key. Here's the key. If this doesn't get done, it's not going to end your life. You might have a dirty house. You might have really tall grass. You might have a dirty car because you didn't get it washed. Okay. But it didn't end the world, and it didn't need to be done by you. This is a key. Does this have to be done by you? And the answer is no. This might be like driving kids to stuff, right? Like they're my kids in gymnastics 4 days a week, and it's 20 minutes each way. I'm spending all my life driving them to gymnastics. Okay. If you drive to gymnastics with the radio blaring and they're on their iPhone in the back seat, is that quality? Is that quality time with your kid? No. Okay. Does it have to be you? Could somebody else get them there? Could they make that there? Absolutely. Okay. So here's a key. Does not have to be done by you in order to get done. If you don't clean your house, could somebody else clean your house? If you don't mow your lawn, could somebody else mow the lawn? If you don't go and volunteer at the front desk for the church, could somebody else go and do that? That's the key here, right? It's not moving the needle to your destiny. It also doesn't need to be required by you. It's just crap that vies for your time. It's I got to do this. I got to do this. Remember, we don't have to do anything. You remember this, right? Not urgent and not important. These are things that have no deadline to them. Okay. They're not having to be done. And it also is not changing your life. Okay. It's not changing your life. Again, this is like entertainment, right? Okay. Entertainment, hobbies. Okay. There's all sorts of things you could fit into this category, right? Spending time with a person you're not going to marry in a relationship is throwing time away, right? Okay. So here's the deal. This is something that you can create and itemize every single thing you need to do. Okay. And so here's what I like to do. Here's an exercise I like to do. I like to look at this on a weekly basis and put all the things that I got to do on a weekly basis. Taking Timmy to practice, right? Going to work, reading my book, exercising, taking my wife on a date night, going to church, right? I'm going to put all the things I have to do that are taking my time, and I'm going to allocate them. I'm going to allocate them here, okay? Now watch this. Watch this. This is going to set some of you free, majorly free. You ready? Here's how this works. Okay, urgent and important needs to be done by you. This better get where? This better get in your schedule now. These things go in your schedule, and they go in your schedule first. They're the big things. They're important. They're urgent. They can be done by nobody but you. Those go in the schedule before anything else. Okay, so what you've got, imagine this blank schedule, and the 6 things that show up here, those get put in first. They go in first, right? Okay. Now watch this. The second thing that goes in is here. The things that are not urgent, but they are important. Working out, spending time with your kids, going to church, reading your Bible. Okay. These are things that are not urgent, but they're going to change the outcome of your life. These go in the schedule next. Okay? These go in the schedule next. So you got the most important things and the things that have a deadline in there. You're not in control of that deadline, really. These things, you are in control of when you do them. They don't have to be done at a certain point, but if we schedule them in, we choose to do them, right? So imagine kind of like here, I'm going to draw a little picture down here. Okay. Imagine you've got this sort of orbiting thing here, right? So you've got these things that need to be in a fixed position in your schedule. Okay. And then you've got these other things. They could really be like this, or they could be out here like that. It doesn't matter when they're there. It only matters that they're there. Okay, you following? Okay, fantastic. Okay, ready for this? Remember what I said? Rich people what? Buy time. Poor people do what? Sell time, okay? In this quadrant, the urgent but not important, this does not need to be done by you, right? Okay? Stop and delegate. Stop and delegate. Do not do these things yourself. Hire them out. Imagine if you took all house cleaning off of your to-do list. Imagine if you took all chauffeuring people off of your to-do list. Imagine if you took all maintenance stuff off of your to-do list. Imagine if you took all this off and you hired it out. You say, well, I don't have the money to do that, and that's why I can't do it. False. You're choosing not to buy time. You're choosing to spend money to buy stuff, okay? Rich people buy time, take that time and make more money with it, right? Does that make sense? Guys, here's the rule. If you can hire it out at $20 an hour, you better do it right away. Because here's the deal, right? What if this was another 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 hours a week, right? Remember, we found that 8 hours in missing time. Now we've done some what? We've done some exchanging. We're exchanging low value activity for higher value activity. And now we go and we buy some time. Now we buy some time. Where should that time go, by the way? That time goes where? Into time investment, into high quality spends, right? Spending time with family, spending time on your spiritual life, the most rewarding and rich things in our life. We're taking things we don't like doing, that frustrate us, that are not making a difference in our life, and we're buying that time back and putting it to the areas that do make a difference. Folks, stop saying you don't have time. I'm teaching you right now how to buy your dadgum life back, okay? But you got to take the action to do it. And not urgent, not important, stop completely. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Stop doing it, at least for a period of time, until you get this under control. And guys, guess what? When you get this under control, when you've exchanged low value for high value, you've made appropriate investments of time, you're going to have so much time. Because remember, look, let's say this is just 5 hours a week and you got that back because you stopped it. There's 5, maybe you bought back 5, that's 10 plus the 8 you found. You got 18 hours a week. That's half of your work week back that you can choose what to do with it. And you say you can't put time into your family. You say you don't have time to start the business. I just showed you how to do it. Now listen, some of you won't do this, but I just showed you how, yes or yes. I've just given you the key to totally restructuring your life, totally restructuring your life. By the way, okay, I call this filling the holes or plugging the holes, right? This idea is we're plugging the holes in our life. Plugging the holes. Where's the holes that your time's going to? Stuff that doesn't matter, that has no time frame, but you just do it because you do it, right? And also the things that don't matter if you do them, but they demand your time right now. They demand that you do this. Like the guy who spends all day fixing his car, right? I got neighbors in my subdivision. I walk by their house every day and they're out there slaving in the front yard doing all their landscape. They've been doing it for a week. And it's like they haven't made any headway. They're trying to save a buck and they're spending all their time. It's like hire a landscaper. You'd have had 60, 70 hours back. Take that time and do something more productive with it. And you'd have more time, less stress. You'd be less physically, it would look better and you'd already be done, right? Does that make sense? What are we doing? We're plugging the holes. We're plugging the holes. We're not just doing things. Let me give you 2 other really quick. I know we're almost out of time. In 1 minute, I'm going to give you a couple examples of other things you can do to plug the holes. This is our personal belief, but Jess and I, we let our kids be in one thing at a time. Okay? If my kid is not going to be the best in the world at it and it's not going to change their life, then we're not letting them be in 3 things, right? You can do one thing at a time. And if you want to try that over there, fine. Absolutely. You may try anything you want, but you got to stop this to do that. Do you really want to stop this to do that? Or do you think you'll be okay doing this? And we force them to prioritize so that we're not being tyrannized by our children's schedule. One of our friends, and guys, we're going to be just a minute or two over here tonight, and we'll add that onto the VIP section at the end, okay? But one of my friends, they were like they were at gymnastic meets all over the world. It's like they were everywhere. They put mega time into this. And then I called him one day. I was like, hey, how's she doing in gymnastics? He said, oh, she's not doing it anymore. That was a black hole, right? That girl's life is not going to be wildly different because she's spent a gazillion hours in local competitive gymnastics, right? That's not going to happen. But the parents' time was just dominated. Her time. That's time that little girl didn't spend developing other skills that maybe she could have used to change the world, change her life, right? So guys, listen, plug up the holes of your kids tyrannizing your time. This is our opinion. It's worked for us. They get one thing at a time. You do anything you want, but you get one at a time. And that forces them to think about, do I really want to do this? Or am I just wasting everybody's time? Okay. Second thing is hobbies, right? Like, listen, Jess used to love running before she hurt her back. And she loved running half marathons, right? And half marathon, no big deal. It's a couple of hours here and there, no big deal. You know what the big deal was? It was the 70 hours of training to prepare for the 2-hour race. It was the travel to Disney and the travel to Vancouver. And all of a sudden you look at it and there's inordinate amounts of time going here. But you know what? She's not a Kenyan mile runner world record holder. You know what I mean? Like, she does it for fun. That's cool. That's a lot of time going away from family, going away from spiritual life, going away from other health, going away from a lot of things. Plug the holes. Stop the bleeding. Look at the things that aren't going to move the needle for your stated goals and dreams, and stop them temporarily until you get everything else under control. And then you'll have plenty of time to go do all that stuff. I promise you, plenty of time. Guys, listen, do your exercises tonight. I hope this helped you. Tomorrow night's going to be, tonight was awesome. Okay. You don't even need to tell me that. I already know. Okay. I already know. Tonight was awesome. Tomorrow night, it's going to be like, you're going to be drinking from a dadgum fire hose. I've got so much content tomorrow night. You thought this was good. I'm going to help you change your life so much. It's undadgum believable. All right. Hey, VIPs, head over there now. We'll add a couple of minutes onto the time at the end. God bless you all. See you tomorrow night.